Point Dread and the Talon Fighter. Let's do this. With this, I will have finished Castle Grayskull, as far as I'm concerned. I have the battle chest, or the battle master, the war pack, or whatever, the rocks that came with the battle cat and battle armor He-Man. I have that. In fact, I did a video on here about it. I have Stridor, so I have the little gate part that plugs into Castle Grayskull. And now I have Point Dread. That leaves only one part left, and it's a part that I'm not rushing out to get because it's ridiculously expensive. I understand why it is. I'm not arguing with it. I'm just saying that it is, and that will make it very, very difficult for me to run out and get. It's just the way that it is. I'm not jumping for joy to spend like $150 to $250 something to get the Spirit of Grayskull thing. Maybe someday if I'm super lucky, but realistically, I don't know when and if that's going to happen. Now, this, however, this can give me a finished castle. As finished as I'm going to get. Let's see it. Alright, so starting out with the box, here we go. Across the top, we've of course got Point Dread. We've got the Talon Fighter. We've got those weird things with the rotators that fly. Looks like... oh my gosh. How could I forget his name all of a sudden? Oh, I'm at the end of my day. You could tell. We got Trapjaw in here. We got Faker. We've got He-Man. I can't remember his name. Castle Grayskull. Going down here. What's that? Triclops, Beastman. We got Merman. We got Man-at-Arms. We got Skeletor. There he is again. I cannot believe that I cannot remember his name. I cannot remember his name right now. The side looks like we got Teela on Battle Cat, and she's fighting against Evelyn on Panther, which is pretty cool. And then on the back here, I don't know this guy, but that's pretty cool. On the very back, we got Stratos, and he's flying here, and is that oh, that's Teela in there with him this time. Okay, and then that's Skeletor. And that is the overall box, and I can't remember his name for the life of me, that guy that I kept trying to point out. And you know what? As soon as I finish this video, I'll remember his name and feel stupid for not having remembered it. But regardless, I don't want to drag this out because this could become a big video. Let's open it. Okay. Grab this here. Out. Put the box to the side because I'm going to keep the art. And there's this bunch of stuff. There's some directions. I imagine I might not even need them in all honesty. We'll see. We'll see how it goes, right? Okay. So. We go. That looks like the bottom of the lookout right here. And then bird feet. This is going to be for the Talon Fighter. This is the top of that. This is where the Talon Fighter sits. It's kind of big, actually. Bigger than you'd think, to be fair. Okay, there's the cannon and whatnot that goes on top of the lookout. Point Dread, to be fair, which is right here. This is also doubled because this is also the top to Castle Grayskull, if I'm not mistaken. This is not the top. This is a bottom base for if you're going to have this be the actual Point Dread. But this actually connects to the top of Grayskull as well, and we'll be looking at both those possibilities. And then this is the Talon Fighter. Here are the wings. And that's everything. Okay, so with everything laid out, the wings are going to go like this. There's that. Then the other wing is going to go on like this. Same kind of concept. There we go. You want the wings pushed in. Oh, man. Nice. Okay, so that's all set up. We're going to close this for... Oh, maybe we're... There. That's closed. We'll flip him upside down for right now. We got bird feet. Bird foot 1 goes here. You just kind of line that up, push it in. And bird foot 2, same idea. You kind of line that up. There's a little thing there. See, this is like a little track. So you line that up, get the tracks in there, push it into place, push it on there. He doesn't want to clip in on this side. I think I'm missing the track. There's that track and that track. There. Both tracks set. There's the feet. Here's the perch. Here's the radar piece. These are the guns. This actually doesn't go on top. This goes on top of the... yeah, this does go. This is for this. Okay, there we go. That's like that. Which I don't know why the guns don't go there, but that's okay. Oh, it looks like there's choices, I guess. I just glanced over at the directions, and you could put the guns up here, you could put the radar up here, or you can put the gun here and have somebody like manning the gun where they stand behind that and they shoot the gun, or you can have the gun up here. So this is all interchangeable in the way that you would like it to be set up. If it's just going to be this part, maybe you want it set there and it's like an outer area at the edge of Castle Grayskull. And that might not be the worst idea either. If this is like part of Castle Grayskull and it's out in the front and that gives you an extra cannon while this sits up at the very top and acts as a radar or something like that. Or rather this sits at the very top and acts as a perch for... So on my idea, I want it to act as the perch because I do want to complete the Castle Grayskull, so it's going to be a perch. And then that sets this out on the... This will, of course, act like that so that it can be out in the field for whatever reason. It's a little satellite thing that sits out there. And then the Talon fighter is a fighter, and it shoots and pew-pew, 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 pew-pew. And that's the gist of it. There's a lot of customization here. There's a lot of choice and things like that you can have. And there's this handle for flying around the Talon fighter if you would like. And it goes right down there, which of course is just fine. And it works. That's not a bad idea in terms of like, you know, when you were kids and you were going to fly it around or whatever. It actually gave you a little more than just having to hold it like we did with a lot of our toys. And so that's actually pretty cool. I don't mind that at all. Now, the Talon fighter is pretty big. Like, way big. Is there an easier way to open this, or do you just pry your thumb under there? You just pry your thumb under there. This is big enough that I think that it's supposed to fit 2 people. And so now, sure enough, there it is. 2 people. 2 people fit within the Talon fighter just fine. And that's actually pretty interesting. That means that this is bigger than the Wind Raider that we were given, even though the Wind Raider is bigger than this. So that's wild. That's actually really wild. I like that the stickers and everything are already in this. That helps quite a bit. And it makes it so that we don't have to set a lot of that stuff up. And it's pretty well done, actually. Let's take him and her out of here. And I'll show you that part real quick before we move on. So here's all the stickers and everything like that. They're in there. They're already set. And it helps that I didn't have to do that. So the stickers are in there. And maybe you could argue that you would have wanted to do it because maybe like this isn't perfectly lined up. But for me, it's close enough that I didn't have to deal with the headache and everything. And I'm more than happy with it. The inside of Point Dread actually has a bunch of computers and stuff like that too. And terminals and stuff and such. But I have heard an issue with Point Dread. And we are going to deal with that issue right now, because I am curious. If I pop this off And if I was to pop this on, and we're not going to secure it, we're just going to put it on there, it's true. He-Man is too big for Point Dread. He's not too big if this part is off, because you could argue that this is the way it's supposed to be. That it's a little station out in front of Castle Grayskull for whatever reason that has like a radar thing and it's feeding information back to the main castle for whatever reason. I don't know. Let's see Castle Grayskull. So here's Castle Grayskull, and this right here just kind of goes up and we push it down and it clips. So they've got those two little tabs. It clips into place here. And that's about it. It's pretty loose if you want the truth of it when it really gets down to it. Because yeah, the front kind of clips in, but then the rest of it is just kind of is what it is. I mean, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm just simply saying that that is what it is. Now, then we take the Talon Fighter. The Talon Fighter goes up here on this perch, and that then becomes the Castle Grayskull. That is it right there. That is finally the Castle Grayskull put together. It's the entire thing. It's and now it's too big to go where I originally had it. And somebody could still go up at the top with little to no problem, I believe. Because you could still put somebody in there. No. So, once again, Point Dread, He-Man is too big, he'll hit his head. That's a bit of a real problem, isn't it? So I'll be honest. I like the idea of having Point Dread, and I like the idea of having a completed Castle Grayskull. But they didn't think this through. Whoever did this, whoever designed it, whoever looked into it, whoever was in charge of the sculpting or whatever, mildly, this is a failed project. You didn't do it. You didn't do it. He-Man, you know, stands up straight. He shouldn't have to duck down to have to get in. Just like years ago, the idea was to redesign this door so that this door would open, and so He-Man would not have to turn sideways to come into the door. They had enough forethought to go, okay, He-Man, he needs to fit in his own castle. That's ridiculous. Make the door bigger. So the door is bigger. And on this, He-Man could just walk right into the door. The door is big enough that he fits perfectly right there. He can walk into the door whilst standing upright. He can't do so while sitting on Battle Cat, but that's a different argument altogether. That's fine. I'm not crying about that. You know the size of your figures. You know them. This is your line. You created the scale for your figures. If your figures are 3.5, if your figures are 5.5, if your figures are 5, if your figures are 6, or if your figures are 7, you chose the size of your figures. So you now are responsible for creating the scale to the rest of your line. And I am talking from an adult perspective. So there is something to be said about, oh well, maybe a kid wouldn't care as much. Maybe. Maybe. But that's a big maybe. Because when I was a kid, one of the things I loved about this was that He-Man fit in it. And I didn't have it when I was a kid. Keep that in mind as well. My friend had this. I had a buddy that lived down the hill from me. I had Ninja Turtles, he had He-Man. And I used to take my turtles down there, and we used to play Turtles and He-Man and Castle Grayskull. And the turtles fit in here easily, and that made it like a big deal. Because I could bring the turtles in and we could do a thing where like, okay, so we go in here and blah, blah, blah. And then like we'd like have little things where like there were like little storylines where we were trying to seize the castle and stuff like that. And then we were trying to defend the castle and all different kinds of little storylines that we played when we were kids. The idea was that these characters were to scale. They made sense with the stuff that was sold alongside them. That's what made them what they were. That's what made things like G.I. Joe a big deal, is that you had a G.I. Joe and you had a fighter jet. And when you put the G.I. Joe in the fighter jet, he was in the fighter jet, and you never once questioned the scale. It looked right. Same with things like Star Wars. Star Wars, they sold X-Wing fighters and things of that nature, and you had a Luke that could fit in these things, and it was fantastic. It made the whole world for you. It expanded the imagination of what you were dealing with. This extra piece, which completes the castle, is pointless. Because if I put it on the castle, and I try to put He-Man in the castle, you would imagine one of two things is messed up here. One, this bottom piece here needed to be bigger. Just a little bit taller. So that when that went on there, his face was looking out the window. That's the scale. Right there. His face should look out that window. And not just here, but up there as well. So this needed to be a little taller so that that could fit in place properly. And then he could look out the window, but not look out the window like he was literally crawling on his hands and knees trying to sit in Point Dread, being like, okay, I see him coming. I'm all the way down like this. Why would you do that? Why would you build it that way? That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to the idea of what you're trying to sell, or the characters at large, or the technology that you're trying to sell to me. This isn't, even if this makes even minor sense, this isn't like a little dugout where we're like on our hands and knees or whatever, okay? This is a different idea altogether. And this is computers and like a station and everything like that. And so it would have been big enough that the computers, like he can't even work on the computers from where he's standing right now because his arms don't reach all the way down far enough. He would have to crouch down into a sitting position almost like I'm in right now and then get his hands on the controls. And if that was the idea, then this should have been a chair. I know that's maybe even asking too much. Maybe. But there should have been a chair. Because if the idea is for him to sit inside of this lookout, and you design these characters with more movement than they originally had, which means they can sit, even that's awkward. His hands don't reach the computer. They do, but like the computer is at his knee exactly, and he'd be like beep, 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 touching controls like this, and it looks awkward, and that's weird. And like, so that's not the idea either. I just tried a couple of different ways to headcanon it, and I can't do it. Not on a personal level. So if I'm looking at this, the way I'm thinking about it, the scale is wrong. The scale is messed up. And maybe this could have been fixed on Castle Grayskull if this had been just a little bit higher. If this little pillar right here had been even 2 inches higher, even this much would have made the difference. Because then the window, because his head touches the top of this. He bonks his forehead on the top of this. So even taking this up by 1 inch would have put his face at window level. That's the character. That is the figure to represent the line. He-Man and Skeletor are the stars of the line, the absolute centerpieces of the line. They set the scale for every other figure and fighter in the line. Now, one of the girls could stand up here, but is that the argument? Is the argument that big, tall, muscle-bound barbarian men can't go upstairs? Maybe. But then that also takes away part of the play factor, the imagination. And I'm reading into this at an adult level. I very much understand where I'm going with this. But like, if I was still playing toys like I used to, the idea is that He-Man's going to go up there and pilot the Talon Fighter. And even if I was to go up there and say that there's like, I take the ladder and my guy goes up there and whatnot, it just doesn't make sense. If this was going to be an extra piece, it needed to fit the scale. Fits the color for the most part. It's a little off, but not enough that it hurts me. This is a very old castle. Parts of it are going to be newer than other parts of it. It's got this nasty green color when it used to be white. That's cool. I actually don't mind that at all. I think that's fantastic. I think that's well thought out. If it used to be white and it's grayed over time and everything like that, that's fantastic. That's storytelling. That's visual storytelling at its finest. This is an old, worn-down castle with secrets in it. Secrets of the universe. And one of those secrets is bonk your head. Bonk your head. Can't go upstairs. He-Man too big. Too big to go upstairs. It is a little goofy. And I am stretching this out a little bit, complaining about it at an adult level for a toy that is very blatantly meant for kids. I'm not opposed to that. I'm not oblivious to that. But as an adult collector, who was a kid, who played with toys all the way up until he was about 12, 13, maybe even 15 years old. I remember I played with toys way longer than I was supposed to, by general means. It's true that I left toys in terms of bang play where I'm like, pow, pow, my guy kicks you. And I kind of turned them into tabletop uses where I made card games and things of that nature out of them. And then later on I made displays and action displays, dioramas and things like that. So, but I was still technically still playing with toys at the time. And had you given me a castle like this and I decided to paint it and do like a custom and then put my guys up there, my display would have been ruined by the size not being right. So it is a problem. If you are looking to buy Point Dread, I keep wanting to say Judge Dredd. If you're wanting to buy Point Dread, I warn you, the scale is wrong. Not that you can't salvage it. I'm sure you could. And this looks cool, but the scale is wrong. And for some people, that's going to be a real problem. For some people, it's not. That's everything I have to say about Point Dread. And I guess, for the most part, I have completed Castle Grayskull. Let me get out of here.
I have spoken. Take what you will from it.